Everyone has to live somewhere, and everyone has to invest their money someplace. So what happens when where you live meets up with where your money is invested? Hello, real estate. Hey, welcome back to Big Money Real Estate. I'm Elise Link. Here's today's daily update. A few weeks ago, I spent some time going over the reasons why you might or might not want to use an LLC. That's a limited liability company. And a lot of times investors use it as a way of owning investment property. So there's some pluses and minuses there. This week, I want to answer a question from a couple who's planning to give their engaged son a house before he gets married. Awfully nice. Wish those were my parents. They established an LLC with themselves and their son as owners. And then they filed a quitclaim deed from themselves to the LLC so that they all own the house and are protected under the corporate veil with rights of survivorship so should something happen. The secondary goal is to protect the house in case their son's marriage doesn't work out. I don't know what they're thinking about the intended here. So they wanted to know if they have thought through all possible scenarios given those goals and whether they've done this the right way so there won't be any unforeseen consequences in the future. And here's what I told them. An LLC is usually the best estate planning tool for co-owners to jointly own a home and have title passed to the co-owners after the death. In effect, all membership shares in the LLC would have to be jointly owned with rights of survivorship. Financing a house inside the LLC, on the other hand, might be a nightmare with most, if not all, conventional mortgage lenders. And you may lose tax benefits normally available to individual homeowners who use the home as a primary residence and keep title in their name. And you may also find that owning the membership shares jointly becomes a headache for federal or state income tax returns. So while you might all be considered equal owners in the LLC, you will have additional annual costs and fees associated with tax returns and filing fees that you wouldn't have had if you all own the homes in your own name. So there might be protections of the limited liability company if something happens to the home, but you have to have homeowners insurance to protect yourself from those kinds of uncertainties, right? That's if somebody trips on the stairs. Now, if your son decides to move out years from now and then you decide to rent the property, having the LLC might prove useful, especially if you have other rental properties. But there's another layer to what's going on here, right? That is, and I referenced it earlier, how these parents feel about the intended. And you can call them helicopter parents, but when you're talking about money, you really have to think out what might happen. And this goes if it's just you marrying somebody, right, and you're sort of combining your assets together, or if you're buying somebody and you're not married, right, whether it's single sex or male-female partners, whether you're in a relationship or not, you have to think about what happens when that relationship ends and how it ends, right, because it's different if your partner dies versus you guys get a divorce or split and it's nasty and there's a whole other family that comes in. So here's what I told this family on that front. When you try to protect your assets from your son's new wife, right, this is a reasonable if delicate goal, but it goes way beyond. And you may want to talk to an estate planner and go over the options. Frequently, a trust is another way, and maybe in this case even a better option, for you to own this property. And a benefit of some of these trusts is that they may not require you to pay annual fees to the state in which you live. The trust may be invisible for income tax purposes, and there could be a different level of control that'll be set up. And some of this speaks to how grown up your son is and what the relationship looks like. So an estate planner or estate attorney can help you go over this situation and see if there's a better way for all of you to hold title and can help you imagine all of the different options that could happen over time. And you'll need to do this anyway if your son and his new wife plan to live in the house at some point in time and not just rent it out. If you plan to live in the house someday, the LLC may wind up being a fine option for you to keep the property out of your son's future wife's hands. Double check with local counsel and a tax advisor to be sure. Most importantly, you've got to help your son understand what your concerns are and what he's getting himself into. Thanks for watching this episode of Big Money Real Estate. As always, you can send me your real estate investing questions on Twitter and Facebook. You can share this video all around with your friends on social media. And don't forget to check out my Intentional Investor series, How to Be Wildly Successful Investing in Real Estate. You can find that at the WitNation store or at thinklinkstore.com. Till next time, I'm Elise Klink.